Hey lady, that's a pretty thick envelope you got there. You sure it's not your lucky day? The voice came from a man crouched under the bridge, his shopping cart rattling with cans. Lena looked down at the envelope in her hands. It was wet, half soaked, but the bold blue letters on it still showed a company logo, Brightwell Industries. I don't think it's luck, she said softly. I think someone lost something important. The man chuckled. Maybe God dropped it for you. Lena smiled faintly, but her chest felt heavy. Then I guess I better give it back to him. The rain had started again, fine mist turning into cold needles. She tucked the envelope under her coat and walked, her boots splashing through puddles. Chicago in late November wasn't kind to anyone, least of all someone with no home. Lena Carter had been living on the streets for almost 2 years. She was 37, once a bakery worker with steady hands and a soft laugh. But after her mother got sick, everything went wrong. Hospital bills, eviction notices, then a slow drift into nowhere. She learned where to find food at the end of the day, which benches the cops ignored, and how to sleep lightly enough that no one could steal her blanket. When she stopped under an awning to rest, she pulled the envelope from her coat. The seal had loosened. Curiosity got the better of her. Inside was a check, crisp despite the rain, the ink smudged but legible. Her breath caught. Amount, $1 million. Her mouth went dry. She read it again, as if her tired eyes might be playing tricks. $1 million. She sat down hard on the curb. She had never held more than $100 at once. For a second, she imagined walking into a store, buying warm clothes, a bed, food that didn't come from a trash bin. She imagined renting a small room, getting a job again, maybe even calling her sister, though they hadn't spoken in years. But the name on the check kept staring back at her. Brightwell Industries. Someone important had lost this. Maybe it was payroll, maybe charity money, maybe someone's future. She sighed and looked up at the gray sky. You really don't make it easy, do you? She muttered. The next morning, she asked around the bus station if anyone knew where Brightwell Industries was. A clerk behind the ticket window told her it was uptown, glass towers, expensive cars, and no place for people like her. Still, she started walking. It was 12 miles. Halfway there, her feet ached and her stomach growled. She passed a bakery window and pressed her hand to the glass, watching people sip coffee and eat pastries. She could have walked inside, cashed a check somewhere, disappeared. No one would ever know. But she couldn't do it. Something deep in her chest, maybe her mother's voice, wouldn't let her. It took 5 hours before the tall glass building finally came into view. The sign at the entrance read Brightwell Industries. Employees in coats and suits brushed past her like she was invisible. Her reflection in the glass doors looked like a ghost. Wet hair, dirty coat, cracked hands. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The security guard frowned. Ma'am, you can't be in here. I just need to return something, Lena said. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were steady. I found this outside yesterday. She held up the envelope. The guard glanced at it, then at her. You found that? Yes, sir. He hesitated, then picked up the phone. Hold on. A few minutes later, a young woman in a neat blazer arrived. Hi, I'm Alyssa. I'm with administration. You said you found something? Lena nodded and handed it over. Alyssa opened the envelope, her face going pale as she saw the amount. Oh my God, this is Mr. Hale's check. Mr. Hale? Our CEO, Alyssa said, looking shocked. This check was reported missing yesterday. He's been furious. Lena stepped back nervously. I didn't steal it. I just found it near the bus stop and thought someone might be looking for it. Alyssa blinked, still holding the check. You walked here just to return it? Yes, ma'am. It didn't feel right to keep it. A moment later, a tall man in a dark suit came around the corner, speaking into his phone. He looked powerful, focused, the kind of man who always had people waiting for him. Alyssa turned to him. Sir, this woman found your check. Jonathan stopped mid-sentence. What? Alyssa handed it over. It's the missing one. He stared at it, eyes wide.
"Where did you get this?" he asked Lena. "I found it near the bus stop yesterday. I wanted to make sure it got to the right hands." He looked at her, really looked at her. The wet hair, the worn shoes, the exhaustion written all over her face. "You walked here?" "Yes, sir. It's a long walk." "Do you know what you're holding?" "Yes, sir, $1 million. He blinked. "And you didn't cash it?" "I don't have a bank account," she said with a faint smile. "And even if I did, it wouldn't feel right." Something softened in his eyes. "What's your name?" "Lena Carter." "Lena," he repeated slowly, as if to test it. "Come with me." She hesitated. "Sir, I'm not looking for trouble. I just wanted to return it." "Please," he said firmly, "come with me." He led her upstairs, through glass elevators and bright hallways. Everyone stared, whispering. They entered a huge office with a skyline view. Jonathan motioned to a chair. "Sit down." Lena perched on the edge, nervous. He studied her for a long time before speaking. "You have no idea how much trouble you just saved this company," he said. "This check was part of an acquisition deal. If it hadn't been found, we could have lost everything." "I'm glad I found it then," Lena said softly. He looked at her coat again. "Are you employed anywhere right now?" "No, sir." "You have a place to stay?" She hesitated. "Sometimes." Jonathan leaned back, thoughtful. "Lena, what you did, no one would have blamed you if you hadn't returned it. You could have walked away rich." She smiled sadly. "Maybe, but I wouldn't have been able to sleep." He nodded slowly. "Wait here." He stepped out, made a few calls, then returned. "I want you to meet someone." A woman entered, older, kind eyes, calm presence. "This is Margaret. She runs our community outreach program." Margaret extended her hand. "Lena, I think we might have a place for you. You said you used to work in a bakery?" "Yes." "Then you know attention to detail. How do you feel about working with our facilities team? It's steady work, benefits, a clean start." Lena blinked. "Are you serious?" Jonathan smiled. "Completely. You've earned far more than this." Tears filled her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. That night, for the first time in years, Lena slept in a real bed in a shelter apartment funded by Brightwell Industries. She held her mother's old cross in her hand and whispered, "Maybe it's not too late after all." But what Lena didn't know was that her small act of honesty had already begun to ripple far beyond her.
2 months later, Lena had become part of the Brightwell family. She wore a clean uniform now, worked as a custodian on the top floors, and greeted everyone with a smile. People liked her, the way she remembered names, her soft laugh, the quiet grace she carried. Jonathan Hale saw her sometimes in the hallways, sweeping or cleaning, and she always nodded politely. He couldn't forget her face that day, the calm humility of someone who had every reason to take, but chose to give instead. One afternoon, Jonathan called a meeting with his board. "I want to start a new initiative," he said. "A project for hiring and training people who've lost everything. The homeless, veterans, single parents, people who just need a chance." One of the executives frowned. "Is this about that woman who returned your check?" "Yes," Jonathan said simply. "Her name is Lena, and she reminded me what real value looks like." Over the next few months, the Brightwell Renewal Program began. It offered jobs, housing, and training to hundreds of people across the city. Lena helped organize it quietly behind the scenes, reviewing applications, visiting shelters, encouraging others like her. She had a gift for seeing potential where others saw none. Then one evening, Jonathan asked her to join him for coffee in the company cafeteria. "I wanted to thank you again," he said. "You already did, sir." "No," he said with a smile. "I mean properly." He slid a folder across the table. Inside was a document stamped with company letterhead. Lena frowned. "What's this?" "A proposal,"
he said, to make the renewal program permanent. But I want you to lead it. Me, she gasped. Yes, you. You know this better than anyone. You lived it. You can make it real. Her throat tightened. Sir, I don't have a degree or anything. I didn't ask for one, he said gently. I asked for heart, and you have more of that than anyone here. Tears stung her eyes. I don't know what to say. Say yes, he said. She did. A year passed. The renewal program became a national model. Lena spoke at community events, helped thousands find work and homes, and slowly became the face of integrity within the company. She still lived simply, same coat, same humble manner, but people began to look at her differently now, not as someone broken, but as someone who built something beautiful from nothing. Then one morning, Jonathan called her to his office again. His tone was serious this time. Lena, I'm stepping down as CEO. Her heart sank. Why? It's time, he said, and I've recommended you to take over the renewal division permanently. But more than that, he slid another folder toward her. I've arranged for you to have equity, 10% of the company. She stared, speechless. Sir, I can't. Yes, you can, he interrupted gently. You earned it the moment you walked through those doors with that envelope. You reminded us what honesty looks like. Lena covered her mouth with her hands. Tears spilled over. I just wanted to do the right thing. And that's why you deserve this, he said. The next day, headlines appeared. From homeless to hero, woman who returned lost check now owns part of Brightwell Industries. But for Lena, it was never about fame. She stood outside the building that night, watching the city lights reflect off the glass. A soft breeze brushed her face. Somewhere deep inside, she heard her mother's voice again. Do good, even when no one's watching. She smiled. The world had tried to break her, but it hadn't. Her honesty had become her bridge back into life. Years later, Brightwell grew into one of the most respected companies in America. Its culture changed forever. Fairness, compassion, second chances. People said it started with a program, but those who really knew it started with a woman in a torn coat, standing in the rain, holding an envelope she could have kept. One act of integrity changed everything. And Lena Carter, once invisible, now walked through the same glass doors she once feared, not as a ghost, but as the woman who owned the place.